No one in the courtroom expected what happened next. It was supposed to be a routine hearing, simple, procedural, unremarkable. But the moment the young man stepped through the heavy wooden doors, shoulders tight, eyes burning with something between anger and grief, the air shifted. Even the clerk stopped typing. It was as if everyone felt the storm he carried inside him. His voice would soon echo off the marble walls. His past would unravel like a wound no one knew existed. And Judge Frank Caprio, known for compassion, patience, and wisdom, would face one of the most emotionally complicated cases of his career. Something was coming. Something heartbreaking. Something no one was prepared for. The defendant's name was Evan Marino, 22 years old. He stood accused of speeding through a school zone, nearly triple the limit. Dangerous, reckless, unforgivable at first glance. When the citation was read aloud, a ripple went through the courtroom. Mothers raised eyebrows. An older man whispered, "What was he thinking?" Evan kept his gaze forward, jaw locked hard enough to tremble. His hands, shoved deep in his pockets, balled into fists. Outside, winter rain tapped against the courthouse windows like impatient fingertips. Inside, tension thickened with every passing second. It wasn't just a traffic violation. Everyone could see it in Evan's posture. Something was buried beneath the charge. Something bigger. He stood alone. No lawyer, no paperwork, no prepared defense. Just a young man with fire behind his eyes. Judge Caprio took his seat with his usual gentle authority, glasses low on his nose, voice warm yet firm. "Good morning, everyone," he said, scanning the room slowly, like a man who valued seeing people, not just cases. "Let's proceed. First case, Evan Marino." Evan stepped forward. Judge Caprio studied him with quiet curiosity. Age, fear, anger, all written openly on the boy's face. He'd seen thousands of defendants, but this young man had a story written in his stance. He could sense it, something raw, unspoken. Caprio took a moment internally. He's holding on to something. Tightly, he thought. And if I push too hard, he might break. If I go too soft, he might explode. This will require grace. The judge nodded gently. "Mr. Marino, you're charged with driving 48 miles per hour in a 15-mile school zone. That is extremely fast, potentially deadly fast. Do you understand the severity?" Evan exhaled sharply, almost scoffing, but not out of disrespect. More like a reflex from someone who'd been holding in too much for too long. "I understand," he said, voice tight. The judge leaned forward slightly. "Would you like to explain?" Silence. For a long moment, Evan didn't answer. He stared at the floor, then the ceiling, anywhere but the judge's eyes. His throat worked as though words were trying to claw their way out. Finally, "My dad used to drive through that school zone every day," he said quietly. Caprio didn't respond immediately. He gave the pause space, hollow, breathing, gentle. Evan continued. "He was a fire chief, Station 12, South Providence." His voice wavered, but he pushed through. He spent half his life saving people, pulling kids out of burning buildings, pulling idiots off highways, breaking down doors because nobody else could or would. Members of the courtroom shifted. The tone had changed, softened, darkened. "But nobody saved him," Evan said. His jaw tightened again, hands still in pockets, knuckles whitening. "He died last year, heart attack, on duty, collapsed before he reached the truck." The courtroom sank into a heavy silence. Even the rain outside seemed to hush. "My father." Evan swallowed hard. "He taught me everything. How to be strong, how to stand up, how to never back down even when the world feels like it's burning." Judge Caprio listened with patient eyes. He felt that story land on his heart like ash. "But he didn't teach me how to live without him." A tremor fluttered in Evan's voice, almost invisible, but not to Caprio. Mr. Marino, Judge Caprio said softly, I'm very sorry about your father. Truly. Evan nodded stiffly, eyes glossy but unbroken. But your loss doesn't excuse driving almost 50 in a 15. There were children present. Anything could have happened. That's when it happened. The spark. The emotional crack. Evan lifted his head, fast, eyes blazing with grief-tainted fury. What do you want me to say? He snapped. That I messed up? I know I messed up. I know I could have hurt someone, okay? Gasps fluttered across the room. A bailiff shifted his stance, alert. Judge Caprio didn't flinch. Evan's voice rose, not disrespectful, but desperate. You think I don't know how fast I was going? I wasn't thinking. I wasn't thinking about kids or cars or limits. I was thinking about him. I was thinking about how every road I drive, I see him. Every siren I hear him. His voice cracked like breaking timber. And I can't slow down, he said, quieter now, because if I slow down, I feel it, all of it, and it hurts. The room went still. You could almost taste the grief in the air. Evan continued, tears now gathering, refusing to fall. The ticket isn't why I'm here, he said. I mean, it is, but really, I'm here because I can't control myself anymore. He looked at the judge for the first time, really looked. His next words shattered the room. Sometimes I get in the car and wish something would happen to me, so I could see him again. A woman in the back covered her mouth. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Evan stared forward, hollow and burning all at once. And I know that's messed up. I know it makes me stupid, selfish, dangerous, whatever word you want to use, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to stop. Judge Caprio inhaled slowly. His heart ached. This wasn't just speeding. This was a young man drowning in grief, begging someone, anyone, to notice. And Caprio knew. What came next mattered more than law or fines. It mattered for this boy's life. Judge Caprio folded his hands, resting them gently atop the bench. He took a long breath, not in frustration, but in understanding. He had sat where Evan stood, maybe not in experience, but in human grief. He knew loss, the way it swallows a person whole. His voice, when it came, was calm enough to settle the room. Evan, he said softly, you said something important, something heavy. You said you sometimes wish something would happen to you, that you can't slow down, or you'll feel the pain. Evan looked up, eyes rimmed with red, jaw trembling despite every effort to seem unbreakable. Yes, he whispered, that's the truth. The judge nodded slowly. I appreciate your honesty, Caprio replied. Most people would hide a confession like that. You stood here and let yourself be seen. That takes courage. Evan blinked rapidly, as if he didn't expect kindness, like he was bracing for punishment, not compassion. Caprio continued, voice low and firm, the way a mentor might speak to a son. But courage is not only standing in pain, it's also standing still, feeling it, surviving it. The room listened, every heartbeat, every breath. Tell me about your father, Caprio said softly. Evan swallowed. The question hit a place he'd sealed off for too long. He was a giant, Evan murmured. Not in size, he was like 5'8", but in presence. He walked into a room and things changed. People sat up straighter, kids smiled. My mom used to tell people, he's the kind of man who'd run into a fire even if he wasn't on duty. A nostalgic laugh escaped him, fragile as glass. And I always wanted to be just like him. I followed him everywhere, firehouse, community events, night shifts when the alarm went off. He blinked back fresh tears. On my 10th birthday, he let me sit in the engine. I thought I owned the world. The courtroom softened with him. You could picture the little boy, shining, proud, invincible. Evan's voice deepened with memory. When he died, it felt like they didn't just take my father. They took my compass, my map, my reason. Everyone called him a hero. News talked about him like a legend. But I didn't need a hero. I needed a dad. He exhaled, long and broken. And now I'm angry all the time. Not at him, at the world, at myself, at everything. His chest shook as he finally said what had been rotting inside him. I keep driving fast because speed feels like the only thing I can control. A sniffle came from the gallery. Even the bailiff softened his posture. Judge Caprio let silence hold the moment. He believed silence could heal, give grief room to breathe. Finally he spoke. "Evan, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, not defensively." Evan nodded. "Do you think your father would be proud of the man you are today?" Evan froze. He squeezed his eyes shut as if the question was a blade. "I don't know," he whispered. "Some days I think yes, but most days I think I'm an embarrassment. I'm reckless. I'm lost." And he died trying to keep people safe, while I'm out here doing the opposite. He looked at the judge with pain carved deep in his features. "That's why I got angry when you questioned me. Because I already know I screwed up. You didn't need to say it." There it was, not defiance, not arrogance, just a son drowning in guilt. Judge Caprio leaned back, eyes heavy with reflection. He had seen defendants cry before, seen remorse, seen excuses. But this was different. This was a young man at war with himself. Caprio spoke quietly, almost like a prayer. "Evan, sometimes when we lose someone we love, we run. Not physically, but emotionally. We run from the silence, from the memories, from the pain. We think if we move fast enough, grief can't catch us." Everyone listened. But grief is patient. It sits and waits. And one day, if we're not careful, it catches us at the wheel of a car going 48 in a school zone. Evan looked down, shoulders curling inward. Caprio's voice remained gentle. "I'm not here to punish your heartbreak. But I am here to protect the children who cross that road. And your father, your hero, spent his life protecting people too." Evan's lip trembled. That sentence hit the deepest wound. Caprio rested his hand over his chest, eyes reflective, carrying a story of his own. "I lost my brother when I was 23, he said quietly. The courtroom stilled. Even Evan's breath paused. He was my best friend, my mirror, my anchor. When he died, I felt like half of me was buried with him. I spent months angry at the world, angry at myself, angry at fate." Evan stared, surprise flickering through his grief. The judge continued, voice slow, heavy with lived truth. "One night, I was driving home after a long shift. I was speeding. I ran a light. I don't remember what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking at all. A police officer pulled me over." He smiled faintly. He didn't yell, didn't belittle me. He just said, "Grief can make you reckless. Don't let it make you dangerous." The words settled like soft snow. "And I never forgot that," Caprio said, "because kindness saved me. Compassion redirected me." Evan swallowed hard, really hearing him. The judge leaned forward. "So, today, I want to be that officer for you." His voice was firm now, strong, grounded. "But before I decide your sentence, I need to ask you one more thing." Evan straightened, wet eyes, unsteady breathing, but present, fully present. "Yes, Your Honor." "What would your father want for you?" Caprio asked. "Not as a hero, but as your dad?" Evan didn't answer right away. He looked down, then up, then away again. His voice when it came was soft, barely audible. "He'd want me to live." Caprio nodded. "And live how?" Evan closed his eyes. "To slow down," he whispered. "To breathe, to get help, to stop trying to outrun what hurts. A tear finally fell, silent, devastating, and he'd want me to be someone he could be proud of. The courtroom exhaled as one. Judge Caprio let those words settle, not just in the courtroom, but in Evan's own chest. The young man stood trembling, breath shallow like a runner finally stopping after miles. Not because he couldn't run anymore, but because for the first time someone had asked him to stand still. Caprio's eyes softened behind his glasses. "Evan," he said gently, "you've been driving like a man trying to escape a fire." Evan's head lifted. "But fires don't go out when you run from them. They go out when you face them." A deep silence followed, the kind where every person in the room felt the truth burning. The judge looked at this boy, this hurting son, and inside himself he felt a pull, not of pity, but of recognition. He saw in Evan the same young man he once was, grieving, directionless, hollowed by love lost. If I come down too hard, he thought, I break him. If I go too easy, I risk more harm. True justice lives somewhere in the space between law and heart. He breathed deeply. The law can punish the speed, he reflected, but only compassion can slow the man. He glanced around the courtroom, every face watching him, waiting. He knew this moment mattered, not for the cameras. Not for drama, for Evan. "Mr. Marino," Caprio said, voice steady, "if I give you another chance, truly give you one, will you take it, or will you waste it on speed, anger, and grief?" Evan stepped forward, voice thick but clear. "I'll take it," he said. "I don't want to die. I just didn't know how to live." His voice cracked, honest, naked, human. "I want help. I want to slow down. I want to be like him, but in the right way." He wiped a tear with the back of his hand, no longer ashamed. "I want to be someone my father would salute." The gallery shifted, a collective ache and admiration passing through them. A woman sniffled. A man blinked fast behind his glasses. The judge felt something inside him loosen, warm, hopeful. Judge Caprio leaned back slightly, fingers interlaced. "Evan, you were driving 48 miles per hour in a 15. The standard penalty can reach several $100 plus points on your license. You could have harmed a child. You could have harmed yourself." Evan nodded, accepting, not fighting. "Yes, Your Honor, I know." Caprio looked into the boy's eyes, not at the mistake, but at the man behind it. "And yet," the judge continued, voice softening, "I see not a criminal, but a young man on the edge of burning himself down." Every ear leaned forward. "I see pain, not malice, loss, not disregard, a son, not a danger." A long pause. "But I also see responsibility." Evan's throat bobbed. "I'm going to suspend the fine," Caprio said. A hush swept the room like wind through leaves. "No payment, no points today." Evan blinked, stunned. "But," Caprio added gently, "I'm not letting you walk out untouched. Your father wore a badge of service. If he lived protecting others, then I believe honoring him must mean doing the same." Evan leaned in, breath unsteady. "I'm sentencing you," Caprio said, "to 60 hours of community service at Fire Station 12, your father's station, if they will have you." A quiet gasp tremored across the seats. Evan's eyes widened, first in disbelief, then in something deeper. Recognition, connection, purpose. "You'll work with the men and women who served beside him. You'll carry his legacy in action, not speed. You will learn how to stand still in fire, not run through it." Tears poured freely now. The dam finally shattered. Evan covered his face with one hand and shook with soundless sobs. Not of despair, but release. He managed through broken breath. "Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. I won't waste this. I swear I won't." Caprio nodded, eyes shining with restrained emotion. I believe you." The gallery stood, not instructed, not planned, but moved. Moved by pain. Moved by hope. Moved by a boy who finally slowed down long enough to feel the fire instead of flee it. The bailiff stepped closer, not to restrain, but to steady. A woman in the back, perhaps someone who'd also lost someone, whispered, "Bless him." Evan wiped his face, breathing deeper than he had in a year. He approached the bench, not too close but respectfully. "Your Honor," he said quietly, "I haven't felt someone speak to me like a person in a long time." Caprio gave a soft, warm nod. "You are a person, and a good one. You just forgot." As Evan walked out of that courtroom, slower, softer, lighter, the rain had stopped. Sunlight cut through clouds like a promise. The camera, if one existed, would have followed him out the doors, down the courthouse steps, toward a world still painful but finally survivable. Judge Caprio watched him go with a gentle ache in his chest. Justice isn't always about punishment, he reflected. Sometimes justice is a reminder that life is still worth living, because some people don't need a fine. They need a hand, a moment of grace, a chance to breathe again. And in that courtroom, on that morning stained with grief and possibility, a young man found his way back to himself, not by outrunning the pain, but by finally slowing down long enough to feel it.